Servus an alle Mitarbeiter des Gesundheitswesens in unserer schönen Grafschaft von Northamptonshire. Ob Sie Krankenpfleger, Arzt, Verwalter oder Geschäftsführer sind oder ob Sie in der Sozialhilfe beschäftigt sind, hoffe ich, dass Sie unser Virtual Wellbeing Festival genießen. Ich heiße Jack, bin gerade in Nürnberg und heute reden wir von Fremdsprache. Möchten Sie eine neue Sprache beherrschen? Vielleicht haben Sie keine Ahnung, wie man anfängt. In diesem Video präsentiere ich ein paar hilfreiche und praktische Tipps. Hauptsache, jeder kann eine neue Sprache lernen.
Okay, don't turn off. I get it. Learning languages can seem like climbing this ridiculous, excessive set of stairs. And we've all heard the excuses for not doing it. I was rubbish at school. I haven't got the language gene. There's no time in the day to learn. Everyone speaks English anyway. Or, I'm too old. None of these excuses hold true. In reality, becoming proficient in a new language simply requires dedication, interest, and time, qualities that any individual can offer. And just look at the joy when you make a breakthrough. Now you're opening a world of new possibilities, friends, and adventures. You can also enjoy various benefits to your health. They include improved cognitive function and a delayed onset of dementia. So, how to get started? In this video, we'll be presenting the top 10 strategies that will help you become a confident and proficient language learner. Whether you're an absolute beginner or maybe you've done some language learning before, these tips are designed to boost your progress and make the whole process enjoyable. So let's get started. Tip number 1 is establishing your motivation. Before embarking on any language learning journey, it's crucial to ask yourself why you want to learn a new language. Take a moment to reflect on your interests. Is it the culture? Maybe you've got a real interest for the history, or perhaps there's a personal connection there. Identifying your motivation will keep you inspired and committed. Tip number 2 is setting clear, time-specific goals for your language learning project. Not only will this be a key aspect of measuring your progress, it will also help you stay focused. Define a specific, time-bound objective that aligns with your language learning aspirations. For example, aim to hold a 10-minute conversation in your target language within 3 months. Or, if you're anything like me, you want to be able to order food within the first week. This will give you a tangible objective to work with, which helps you keep motivated when it comes to turning up each day to study. Now, I've always hated the word fluency. There will always be new things to learn and achieve in your target language. By setting goals, you tailor this never-ending task to the things that can really benefit you the most. Tip number 3 is a reminder to make use of the treasure trove of resources at the palm of your hand. The internet is full of them. You could access full courses via Duolingo or Innovative Languages. You might use Memrise to create visual prompts for your vocabulary, or Quizlet to build targeted vocabulary lists. You don't have to travel to a country to immerse yourself. The website italki allows you to set up indispensable language exchanges where you can talk to a native speaker or perhaps a tutor online. Immersion is a vital cog to consistent language learning, and we immerse ourselves daily in podcasts, TV shows, and other content across social media. All of these options provide a wealth of language learning resources. So why not try them in the target language? You could watch a German film, listen to an Italian podcast, or discover a Pashto-speaking comedian on YouTube. You could even change the language of your smartphone. Tip number 4 is to utilise spare moments effectively. Seize every opportunity in the day to boost your language skills. Whether you're waiting for the bus, standing in a queue, or taking a short break at the kettle for a cup of tea, these brief periods can be used for language learning. Click on the flashcard app on your phone to practice vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation. You could even use the time to read the news in your target language. Tip number 5 is personalising your learning. Make your language learning journey unique and tailored to your interests and goals. Avoid blindly following generic courses or memorising vocabulary lists without purpose. Instead, seek out materials, topics, and resources that resonate with you, whether it's learning vocabulary related to your profession or exploring cultural aspects. Personalisation keeps you engaged and motivated. Tip number 6 is embrace your mistakes. This one is huge. Overcoming the fear of making mistakes is crucial for language development. Don't be afraid to speak from day one, even if your proficiency is limited. Native speakers appreciate the effort, and they're usually quite supportive. In the early days, you can even just talk to yourself to gain some confidence. You'll be doing it in later life anyway, so why not learn to do it in 2 languages? I'll always remember a conversation I had in Berlin many years ago when I accidentally insinuated I was the most spoilt brat in history. I oversimplified the fact that I was translating for my dad while he was paying, effectively saying, I speak, he pays. The exchange still makes me cringe to this day. But like I said, embracing mistakes as learning opportunities really helps to improve your language skills, and you won't make the same mistake again. Tip number 7 is stop what you're doing now and build a phrase book immediately. Putting together a phrase book helps you no end when it comes to navigating conversations in your target language, and that's even as a beginner. Include simple phrases like greetings, expressions that ask for help, or ways to order food. Include questions to seek clarification, encouraging you to stay in the target language rather than relying on English. One of the most important phrases you can learn in your target language is how do I say this in X? Immediately, this gives you the simple option to point at something and learn the word for it rather than resorting back to English. That's another one for the vocab list. Tip number 8 is build a shrine to cognates and use them as much as possible. Discovering cognates, that is words that are the same or very similar in your native and target language, is a powerful language learning hack. These provide a foundation to quickly build and expand on your vocabulary. You'll be amazed to find that you already know so many words before you even make an effort to learn the vocabulary of your new language. But remember, we don't always deserve nice things, and while cognates giveth, false friends taketh. False friends are the opposite. They're words that look the same in your native and target language, but they often have very different meanings. Some of these are quite vicious. For example, if you learn in German, don't go and give someone gift, because that's the word for poison, not a present. Cat in Polish means executioner rather than a domesticated pet. And don't panic if you hear a Hebrew-speaking parent shout "die" to their children. They don't want to physically harm them, it just means they've had enough of the behaviour that's on display. Tip number 9 is carrying a notepad to record vocabulary as soon as you first encounter it. Keeping track of your vocabulary is essential for language retention. Carry a notepad or utilise a digital notepad to jot down new words or phrases as you encounter them during conversation, reading, or listening exercises. Later, transfer these words to your more permanent vocabulary list for regular review and reinforcement. Increasing your vocabulary is an important part of broadening your knowledge of a language. By doing this often, you'll find yourself start to excel from basic understanding to more complex conversation and scenarios. Suddenly, you start to make the most of the language you're learning, maybe taking in the culture through literature or film. We're down to our final tip. Tip number 10 is remember that language learning shouldn't be a tedious chore. It should be enjoyable, a rewarding experience. Identifying your language learning style really helps here. Whether you're an auditory, visual, or kinesthetic learner, incorporate activities that align with your preferences. Explore music, movies, games, or cultural events that really immerse yourself in the language and make learning fun. When it comes to learning languages, remember that communication with people is really central to what you're trying to achieve. And I don't think you can really underestimate how far that could take you. If I hadn't studied German, I never would have met my German grandparents. It's a bit of a story time here. When I spent a year living in Germany, Braunschweig, I had a season ticket for the local football team, Eintracht Braunschweig. I went along to the first home game of the season, not really knowing what to expect, not knowing where to stand. Was I going to get in the way of someone that went regularly? Just so happened I did. As Dieter, in his mid-50s, stood next to me and very sharply said, "You're going to have to move a little bit. I've stood here for 20 years. Great start. I thought I'd offended the locals before I'd even begun. But we got talking. I explained it was my first time, that I just got to Germany from the UK, and we got talking. And over the season, we spent every game standing, supporting, singing together. Until once he turned around and said to me, "I'm having a barbecue at my house after this. Do you want to come round?" That was 5 years ago, and I've recently returned from a trip to Braunschweig where I watched my beloved Eintracht again with Dieter, spending the weekend with him and his family. Like I said, learning languages opens the doors to new people that you may never have had the opportunity to meet, and who knows where that could take you. We've looked at 10 top tips for getting started with language learning here. For more detail, such as links to specific websites and resources, plus some starter pack ideas for reaching your goals, take a look at the Anyone Can Learn a Language PowerPoint presentation, which you can find in the Virtual Wellbeing Festival Activities and Resources section. Recently, I applied these tricks on my own language learning mission. I wanted to learn some Italian before I went to Rome, and I didn't have long to do it. You can find a day in the life learning languages video linked on the events page. For now, take a look at what makes learning languages all the more worthwhile, as well as my first conversation in Italy.
Buongiorno. Vorrei antipasto bella vista,
Sì?
2 grandi birre e 2 arancini rosse.
Sì, no, sono bianchi.
Solo bianchi?
Sì.
Va bene.
È uguale.
Va bene.
Ok, due
Basta.
arancini. Ok, perfetto.
Grazie mille. First Italian conversation.